Welcome to the Rec Room with Mandy and Mio, a podcast about books and the people who write them.
둘, 셋! 안녕하세요. 우리는 Rec Room입니다.
What the fuck?
Starting it off on a brand new foot. Rec Room. Rec Room. Rec Room. Rec Room. Yeah.
What?
So many new things that we're starting this episode on. Not only did I just start off this episode with like a brand new intro, but Mandy, you have a new microphone.
That's what you're gonna say.
Yeah, that was my segue. That was my segue to get to talking about a new microphone. It's like I needed to have an equally new thing to also show off on this podcast because I don't have a new microphone.
You learned how to do like Korean introduction?
Yeah, I kind of had to watch. I had to watch K-pop introductions.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
I was a bit frustrated. Like, people are going to kill me for this. We're potentially setting us up for destruction. Specifically. Because
specifically for people who listen to us who are going to
because I started looking up on YouTube, like, just like random groups. Like, I would look up Shiny group introduction. And then from there...
Sorry, who was that again?
I was looking for Shiny. I heard this name of this group a lot. And then I got kind of frustrated. No, I got kind of frustrated because then I was like looking for what is their specific group introduction. And then I would look for how they would say that introduction. And the one thing that frustrated me was that whenever they said their introduction, there were no subtitles for how what they were phonetically saying. Which, you know...
could Google that too, though.
No, that's what I did. I ended up just like Google translating the English intro.
Wow. So you had to like go through some shiny content.
I had to research.
So shiny.
Yeah. My favorite character from Moana.
It's shiny.
But as we were saying, Amanda, you have also something new, a new microphone. Yay!
I do.
You know,
in case for the people who have not heard it,
Mandy's about to do some ASMR in this episode.
I am not. That's weird.
But also, like
and it's just like books turning.
Yeah.
Pages of books.
Yeah. As you guys have noticed, this episode is entitled "The Reading Break." So. Like, we should, like, clarify. We're not gonna
I'm literally taking a break from reading.
Yeah, we're taking a break from reading, but we're not actually filming this. But we're not actually going to, like, read on this episode.
No, we're not.
Normally,
unless you want us to?
So, I mean, like, if you guys are entering here for the first time, this is a podcast called The Rec Room with Mandy and Mio. And we ask the question, when does a writer's work become required reading? In each episode, we usually take popular authors of the day and review each entry in their bibliographies to see just how close these writers get to the sweet spot between mainstream breakout success and traditional literary sensibility. That's usually what we do. But here's the thing. Books, they take a while to read. And we're not...
Some books very long.
Some books, we're not very fast
Some books
readers.
So complex.
And like...
Take long read.
Yeah, I think like that was sort of the thing. Is like we kind of set ourselves up to like... We started recording our first episodes like way in advance. So we'd have like a lot of like headway to like get ahead of like I guess the release dates for each episode.
6 schedules?
Yeah, but then like at the same time like that kind of caught up to us. So now we're basically like laying the train tracks in front of the train as it comes along. And so we felt like it was important to have an extra week ahead of us before we started on our next miniseries, which is on Zadie Smith, the fiction of Zadie Smith.
Sorry, before we continue, I forgot to tell you the cool thing about this mic.
Oh, go on.
That I said I wanted to tell you.
Yes.
So, because Mio's considering getting the same mic.
I am, because it's amazingly crisp. You are the new Professor
so
Crispy.
So it's crisp, baby.
You stay crispy.
Like a good potato chip.
Yeah. Or a British chip.
Or a British chip?
Yeah, because they call it crisp.
I don't think they like their chips crispy. Oh,
No,
okay.
they call it crisp. Like, they literally call it
I thought you
crisp.
meant they're like because right.
There was a
No, I
hilarious.
thought you meant they're like chips
No,
because I literally was like, if you gave a British person a crispy chip, I think they might be upset, right?
There was literally I remember there's this one tweet I saw where somebody said, like, in the UK, they call them Alvin and the Crisp Monks. Credits to that person whose tweet is going into our show notes.
Yeah, whoever made that to
Whoever
me,
you are,
amazing.
I salute you. Anyway,
if
sorry.
I could give comedy points,
Yeah.
I would give them all.
Wait, so what's the cool thing about your mic?
No, so remember earlier when I was saying that I had my mic like propped up next to my laptop on my tiny desk?
Yeah.
It's because this mic actually comes with a little stand. But like the legs are foldable in such a way that they fold into each other so that it becomes a holder. If we were on Zoom, I would show you. But like I'm literally holding my mic now by the legs of like the stand because they fold together so well that you can just hold up the mic in that way.
This is
Wala lang. I find it super cool because
This
like it's like
incredible.
a multi-use stand.
Yeah.
So yeah.
technology,
I feel like it's
podcasting
worth the
technology.
price.
I really should invest in a better
And shout
microphone
out to
setup.
my man's.
Yes, your man's.
This
who
forgiveness for me.
got
This-
you
This is his birthday gift for me.
Yes. So
I know, what a guy, what a man, what a mighty good man, as that song went. Whatever song that is. I actually don't know what song that is.
right, but I feel like it also like is good that it's good that we're kind of like debuting your new microphone on this episode. I mean, like this whole run of the 3 miniseries that we've gotten so far, it's kind of us just like finding our feet and figuring out what we really want to do with this podcast and seeing what we love about doing this podcast or the things that we could do better with this podcast. And like obviously the technical side, since neither of us are like podcast professionals to begin with, we've never been on podcast before, like this is a good place to start, obviously. And even then, like with the reading break, like we've been talking a bit about how we want the show to grow moving forward, even after the Zadie Smith's miniseries. And I think like reading breaks are things that we are going to want to look forward to more often as we continue doing the show, because it's good to have like these sort of palate cleansers and like time, moments where we kind of just like, put the book down for a little while, because that is how we do. And the way we decided to do it, at least for now, is we wanted to try to involve people who have been engaging with us on social media, mostly our friends. Ever since we started the show, we've gotten a lot of encouraging notes of support from people. I was like really pleased because some of them were from people who we like. Some of them are like from complete strangers, people we've never met, who have said that they enjoyed listening to the show. Others are from friends who we haven't really seen in a while, who also said that, listening to our show often feels like having like sort of these like two other people in the room, which I think in this time, if you're still
amazing, like that's
listening,
what you want to be feeling.
like this, exactly, this kind of
if you're
company.
in a country that isn't doing well,
this is like the most.
Basically, I'm saying if you're from not New Zealand,
right? Exactly.
maybe
this may be
would
the
a
most
helpful podcast
appropriate like social activity of the time, of the era, because even now we're still recording this in different islands, from different islands
and
of
different.
the
Yeah,
Philippines.
like literally, we have not seen each other in exactly
almost a year. We're approaching a year.
almost a year.
Yeah, but yeah,
Which is crazy because the last time I saw you was literally the week before our country went into lockdown.
exactly. So this is the most
That's really
socially
crazy.
appropriate social activity of the time. And so
Socially
the way we wanted to
the
try
most appropriately distance.
Yes, and the way we wanted to involve people into it was we wanted to do a little bit of a survey. We wanted to ask some questions to
survey.
people based on
Little
some of
cues.
our episodes so far, some of our miniseries so far, and kind of like also getting your thoughts on the way ahead, paving the way ahead. So we put some questions up on our Instagram stories with like little
We had
boxes
some
and
cues
polls.
that we wanted some A's to.
Yeah, and we got some of your answers, and we've decided that for this episode, for this reading break episode, what we will do is we will go through each of these questions, giving our answers to them, and like choosing or highlighting certain answers that we think are interesting, but don't worry, we won't read any of the names of who submitted what answers. We're just going to read the answers and talk about them. So,
unless you want it to be shout out. If
yeah,
you read
if
your
you
question
want,
and you wanted
yeah.
us to name you, you can just message us and I'll give you a shout out for the next one.
Yeah, or like no, or
but just
I was
for the
gonna say,
sake of like consistency.
Yeah,
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, I thought the solution to this was going to be, we're gonna drop this episode this weekend. People are gonna hear it, and then they're gonna be like, damn, I wish they mentioned my name on this episode. If you ever feel that way, you can message us. We will retroactively edit this episode. I will retroactively edit this episode for you, so that the episode can go, this question was from your sister. Yeah, we're gonna Mulaney it, so that your name is inserted into the episode.
So this question was from another person named so and so.
Yeah, this question was from Jam.
Yeah,
we're not really gonna do anything about that, but we will read through some of the answers that we got to these questions, because we thought a lot of the answers that we got were hilarious and amazing, and we're so grateful that we got.
Thanks to everybody.
Yes, thank you so much.
And thank you so much to everybody who answered our polls and our questions. It was really fun to watch them come in.
Yeah, man.
Because it was just Mio. Enjoying himself too much.
I mean, like, let's say, like, I felt like the commitment that you guys made to answering those questions, I needed to match that, which is why I committed myself to learning Korean, so that I could open this episode with something equally compelling and committed. So there you have it. Let's move to our first question.
Compelling.
So our first question was a poll. And the question was basically a choice. It was, would you rather go hostel hopping with Niall from Normal People, or on a field trip with Cersei from the titular role that she played in her novel, Cersei? Yeah, and based on this poll, there was
she played in her novel.
Yeah, there was a larger support for. There was a bigger turnout for Cersei. She got 69%.
Are you gonna read out these? Yeah,
nice.
Hells yeah, and yes, she did.
While Niall got 31%.
I know your boy. Are you okay?
Okay, so I mean, like, I'll be honest. I still would go hostel hopping with Niall. I mean, like, now it's probably
that
not
was my answer as well.
Probably not a good time to go hostel hopping, especially now. But like,
oh no, when I answered this question in my head, I was like, this is an AU where COVID never happened.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Like, yeah, if COVID wasn't like constantly like hanging over our heads, the idea of going hopping from city to city, country to country, with this specific dude, Niall from 1D, as we've been calling him, then I would say, like, yeah, perfect. I like that for me is a perfect idea of a holiday. Cersei, I feel like it would be a bit intense. Although, like, you know, I suppose like her field trips.
I feel like going on a field trip with Cersei would be like if you were doing a science fellowship.
Yeah, like, but I would say like her field trips would also be like insightful. Like, you know how I don't know.
I mean, I didn't mean that in a bad way.
I know, yeah.
I mean, it would be good, but like it would be really intense.
Yeah, like you know how I don't know what trees are.
That's true. You have no idea what most vegetables.
I constantly have to ask what a tree or a flower is, and like, guess what? Cersei's entire specialty is based on a knowledge of trees and flowers.
I know.
Okay. Just to clarify to the listener, as a writer, the number of times I've had to Google trees endemic to the Philippines will surprise you. Like, even when I think...
Yana Rolionzo, if you're listening, please send your thesis to me.
Even if I think I figured out what kind of tree I want to use, I have to like double check. Like, someone will say something about the tree that will really make me doubt. I remember the other day, my dad was saying something about like, oh, mahogany is not endemic to the Philippines, you know. Nara is the Philippine, it's our one. Philippine mahogany. And I remember when I heard that, I was like, holy shit, did I put mahogany in that story? I was like, And I had to like
Oh my
double
God.
check, like I had to like go through all my files and like Control F, Command F,
Yeah.
mahogany,
Mahogany,
or like
zero
Nara, and then
results.
like oh god, do they have Nara groves? Like I was freaking out. So yeah, I think it would be also insightful for a change.
Sorry, can I also just like real quick
Go on.
for Mio's like just so also the funniest that has to be the best thing about Mio, or like the funniest thing about Mio as a writer is that, you know, for a writer, he does not know what many things are. And when I was on his island, no, I went to visit him last year for his birthday in where he lives in Cebu. I'm from Manila.
Yeah.
And I missed his birthday dinner because I got sick. Because I have PCOS, if you did not know that from our very first episode. But
Call back.
Yeah, that was really good, like turnaround. I mean, like circle back. So I had PCOS, and I actually got sick like the night of his birthday dinner because with his with his extended family and everything, because I was about to get my period, and so I was very feverish and I missed the dinner. And the next day at breakfast, I was like, "How was it?" And he was like, "It was good. I had like 4 kinds of cake." And then I said, "Oh, so what were the kinds of cake?" And he said, there was the cake my dad made." And 3 other cakes.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay. So did you not like the other 3 cakes?" And you were like, no, my mom said one was tiramisu, and I guess that was the brown one." And I was like, "Okay." And then you were like, "And then there was also red velvet, I think." And I was like, "Okay." And then when I went to when his mom had eventually like put the leftovers of the cake on, none of them were red velvet.
Yeah.
And the one that he thought was tiramisu was absolutely not tiramisu.
Wait, what was it then?
It was really
Do you remember what it was?
No, I think it was like a butter cake, something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's not
Like super
tiramisu,
opposite
I
of
guess.
what you were like thinking it was. I was like,
Yeah, I was like trying to like
and then it didn't help that 2 days later, just to add to, you know, circle back again to you not knowing like what certain trees are.
Yeah.
We went to have drinks with our friends. There was a drink that we were having that had lemongrass in it, and I specifically said to you, "If you're gonna order me a drink, don't get the one with lemongrass." And when you came back, you had the drink that had lemongrass sticking right out of it.
And then I remember, I remember this. And then you asked me specifically, "Mia, do you know what lemongrass is?" And then I said, "Yeah, lemongrass is that restaurant that is in Ayala Center, and they sometimes serve like Asian fusion food. They used to be in the sports activity zone, but now they moved to like the outside grove area." And it turned out the drink I was holding had lemongrass in it, which I
had lemongrass.
But I tried to convince you that it was a straw, which I successfully
you
proved
did. Which
because
you
I
successfully did.
I was able to
he like
sip
cut
the
it
drink.
in half.
No, I didn't cut it in half. I kept
you
boring a
totally had
hole. No,
with
I
your
bored a
bare
hole,
hand?
and then I kept going until I could start sipping beverage through the lemongrass stalk.
really
I guess
intense.
stalk, is that what you call it?
Like I guess
Botanist,
that's what it is.
chime in, please.
Yeah, botanist. If any
If
of you
you
listening
are a botanist,
botanist,
please tell us.
please
As
help
an
him.
emerging plant
Also, if anyone
father,
is a baker.
yeah, I'm very concerned about what I think my flowers and plants are.
And also cakes.
Yes.
Does not know a lot about cakes. Anyway, so that's why we wouldn't go on a field trip with surfing.
So that's one question done. Okay. Okay, next question. Number 2. If you were a Greek god,
I like this question.
what would you have power over? Mandy, I'm very curious to hear what your answer for this would be.
This is so crazy. I don't know. No, I think mine would either be the weather.
Okay, that's actually good. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one, right?
Yes.
Especially as, you know, tropic.
As crazy as our weather is here, it's literally
and
a
also
defining
climate
feature.
change. If I was a Greek god, I probably would have decided if climate change exists. So if I was a Greek god of weather, I would just need some good old sacrifices, baby.
Yeah.
And climate change would never happen ever again.
Wait, you'd be you'd end up being the god that they'd have to sacrifice Agamemnon's daughter to, in order so that to get the win, wouldn't you?
because Artemis isn't the goddess of weather.
No, but then how did she? Okay, yeah, I'll believe you.
Yeah, she's the goddess of like fertility and
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
But then like that's a good question. Like, how come she got to? Well, no, I think it's one of those things where like gods are really like they have a specialty, but they can generally
She
do the
had
same
wind,
shit to
yeah.
like climate, right?
Right.
Because like remember even in Song of Achilles when Thetis would come on to land, like the air would also still.
Right. Yeah, so they do
Something like
definitely
that.
have some kind of effect on it.
Effect on the
But
I
that's-
remember also when Athena shows up in Circe, the it becomes dark all of a sudden.
Right. So definitely they
Yeah.
have some effect on it, but you would want to be the god
No,
who
but I would want it
has,
to be my main
yeah,
thing.
total control over it. Like you can bend it to
Yeah.
your will, which makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's actually a perfectly
Yeah.
functional one because the answer I would have given to it was not functional at all. I picked a
was it?
power that just seemed naturally matched to me, and it's just that I would probably most likely be the god of improvisational humor.
This is the
No, because like let's put it like this, like you know, the problem kasi is that people
so people
So,
are gonna
no, like-
sacrifice their
Yeah.
children and or lambs.
yeah they're gonna sacrifice their
People are like,
lambs.
I gotta get this bit
no,
right.
no, they're gonna sacrifice their lambs, and I'll go yes, and no, but that's why it's so funny also because like
It's so good.
it makes sense to be like the god of improv to a fault. Like you know how like when we were
Oh my
reading
God.
Circe, one of the things that we kept pointing out was that
Jeez.
part of the problem about divinity or like Greek divinity or Greek immortality is that you end up doing what you do to a fault. So like you know
Right.
like you end up like sort of bending things to your whim. Like Hermes was very wishy-washy as a character because his life had no stakes to it.
Mhm.
Kind of like that. So
That's very true.
like in my case, if I were the god of improv, I would kind of just like join any conversation and continually add bits until it tired out all the other people there, which would make me, I guess, like a very tiresome god. But like I would also be, I
So
guess,
regular
the life
god.
of the party. So my main rival would also be Dionysus.
Dionysus, yeah.
Yeah.
My
So
boy.
yeah, I think that would be my power. Would you like to
Wow.
read some of your choice?
I would actually.
What are
So
some of the
some
highlight
people-
answers
okay.
we got?
Much like me, a lot of these people have really what do you call this? Not realistic. What was the word you used earlier?
That's true. They're like sort
like
of like
useful answers. Like
they're
a lot
practical. They're
of,
very
like,
practical,
pragmatic- Yeah, they're very
but then
practical
they're
answers
also very matched. I
think-
think to the people.
to who the yeah, that's very true. And like I think it also has to do with again us being tropics people or like people from a third world country.
Right.
Because literally two people said some one person said that they would control air traffic control towers.
Yeah.
Which yeah. And then another person said that they would control Manila traffic.
Specifically,
which
Manila
is saying
traffic.
a lot. It's specifically Manila traffic because, well, to be fair, this person I know her. She's been my friend since high school, and she's lived in Manila her whole life. And she, before the pandemic started, or like a year before the pandemic started, she had just started driving. So, it's one of those things, you know. And yeah, and for people who don't know, who are probably listening from like not the Philippines, if you've never seen Manila traffic, don't Google it.
Yeah, don't
'Cause
try.
you will
It's
shit yourself. You
quite
will really shit
sad.
yourself.
I would
It's
listen.
so sad.
I would listen to oh god, I'm blanking out on the name of the podcast, but what's the podcast with Ira Glass? I would finish like a whole episode, and that's usually like 2.5 hours in traffic.
Just sitting in traffic.
Just
yeah,
commuting to get back home.
absolutely. I remember also when like the past 2 times that I was abroad. I mean, like or like with 3 times, because when I was with you in England, I remember we were walking home in Norwich from somewhere. I guess your university. I can't remember anymore. But we were walking home from somewhere, and we were with your friends, and then one of your friends was like, "Oh, it's rush hour already." And when I looked at the streets, there was hardly any cars.
Yeah.
Or at least
Cars
in
were
my
moving.
opinion, like the cars were definitely moving. And I really remember one car even honking at one point, and I was like, "Hello?"
Yeah.
What's going on? And then I remember also in the States when I was in LA, Everyone always says that LA has like the worst traffic, I guess, on like that coast, but
Arguable, like debatable.
Yeah, that's very like every time
debatable.
they're like I even my like relatives who like have lived in the States for a long time now, like who are immigrants, even they've got sanay to it, you know, na parang they'll be all like, oh, but that place is like a 20-minute drive. And I'll be like, 20-minute drive? I'd love to go for a 20-minute drive.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so that's one. Manila traffic.
Yeah, other answers I think we can gloss over. Someone said men. Someone said weed.
Amazing.
Someone said female entrepreneurs, which I quite like because then it sort of implies that you're kind of like
She's the
patron saint or patron god of like you're the patron girl boss essentially.
Mm-hmm.
There's also someone who
also,
said...
never say girl boss again.
Sorry, I was thinking of the series starring...
All right. What's her name? That actress that I forgot.
From Tomorrow.
See, literally...
We've forgotten her in 2
Yeah,
episodes.
she's from Tomorrow, and she's also from First Time. But her...
but from Tomorrow
Land...
Brit... It's like Britt Robertson.
Britt
Robertson.
Britt Robertson?
We got it.
Is it Britt Robertson?
I think it's Britt Robertson.
Okay.
Or Britt Robinson.
Okay,
I'm
so her.
sorry. Her name's going in the show notes, I guess.
That was not a good series.
Okay, so anyway, someone also said, I just wanted to like put in this last one, the rich so I can make them suffer for once. Excellent answer.
Agree.
Good answer to end
so
that
good.
question discussion on. Okay, question number 3. What are classic works of literature that you would love to reinvent Maddie Miller style? So in the style of Madeline Miller.
This is so good.
Like we were
so
saying,
many people gave really good answers.
Like our examples were like, okay, looking at Song of Achilles and
there
Circe.
Are 2 people who said the same thing.
Okay, yeah, I'll get to that.
Which was so interesting.
But like the examples that we gave for Song of Achilles and Circe is that it's Iliad but it's soft, and then Circe was like Odyssey but it's women. It's about the women in the Odyssey. So, there were a lot of answers, great answers to this question that I really love. And, like, let me ask you first. Do you have a personal answer for this question?
Oh, no. I didn't want to say, oh, well, you go first.
Okay, so, like, I really thought about this because the thing is, like, I had, like, a personal favorite idea. And then I realized that it had already been done before, and that's why I was thinking of it. It's the episode of Batman, the animated series, where it's basically the Canterbury Tales, but instead of like travelers who are telling tales to each other and who has the best tale, it's all of Batman's villains telling each other how close they got to beating Batman over like a poker game. That's like the good one.
That's so good.
My own personal answer, aside from that, would be Ibong Adarna, but it's from the perspective of the Ibon.
Oh my god, of the bird eye.
So like, so like 10 pages would be like, Bang!
Yeah, 10 pages are just like, no, it's like 10 pages are just like, there's a guy coming up the tree. I guess I'll kill him now. I guess I'll shit on his head and kill him. And then he's dead. And then like, a day later, the bird's like, what the fuck? I thought I just killed that guy.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I guess I gotta shit on him again.
But
and then that happens like 2 more times.
I love that like 3 pages where it's just bossa nova singing. Singing Ibong Adarna in a bossa nova style.
You know that bit there's a sketch like that on SNL. You know that SNL sketch? There's this one great SNL sketch where it's like, I guess it's supposed to be like a Brazilian cafe or something, and like Kristen Wiig is like a tourist, and then Alec Baldwin comes in as like this like old rich local who tries to hit on her, and then in the background it's Maya Rudolph and Fred Armisen playing bossa. They're like like the cafe singers. And they're singing bossa nova, but they're not really singing Brazilian either. Like they're not speaking Portuguese. It's so funny, and it's literally just them being like ba da 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 or something like that. It's so good. Anyway, my answer, I also thought of something, but then I realized it had also already been done years ago when I was in high school by Hank Green online. He made a really fantastic modern AU version of Pride and Prejudice, where it was like AU where Lizzie is a vlogger, but not like in the influencer sense. Like she was vlogging her journey through trying to through her master's degree,
Right.
and then like trying to get an internship, and then all these things happen around her. It was great. It was a really great adaptation. If you have not seen that, if you love Pride and Prejudice and you've never seen this adaptation,
What was the name of
look
this
for it.
adaptation
The whole thing
again?
is on YouTube. It's called The Lizzie Bennet Diaries.
That's right. That's what I remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's really good. Like, he built a whole universe. Like, he had a LCU, a Lizzie Cinematic Universe, because it started with like Lizzie's channel, and then like as it went along, because like in it, Darcy's family was like they owned a tech company, and then eventually they made a channel for the tech company and a real website for them. It was crazy. It was so good. IRL world building. Anyway, but I think another one that I would love to see would probably be something local. So, and this is gonna tie into one of my answers later, but like maybe one of our famous short stories from like the American period. I don't know which one would be good, but like I have, like maybe I'd like to see something like adapted into a musical or something.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because like it's one of those things where, I mean, if we ever like find a way to cover it on the podcast, one thing I really want to bring up in a discussion about Dead Stars by Paz Marquez Benitez is how it's essentially Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. That they
that's
have,
right.
They have very similar plots.
Yeah.
And like it never occurred to me until I recently watched the the Martin Scorsese adaptation of Age of Innocence, and I was like, this is literally Dead Stars beat for beat.
Yeah.
So
it's literally Dead Stars but with brown people.
Yeah, so that like was that was probably their Maddie Miller Paz Marquez Benitez's Maddie Miller reinvention of the tale. Okay,
Absolutely.
Let's read some highlight answers from which ones were your favorite answers here in among the answers we got.
Mine is, well, the very first one I'm seeing now is Dante's Inferno with a local flavor.
Total
Very
fit.
nice.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
would super love that.
Perfectly fit exactly into this context.
Us. Exactly.
To the Philippine
The whole
context,
life
the way
is
things are
just-
going now. A lot of people different
no
circles.
pun intended, but I was gonna say hells yeah.
Hells, yeah, definitely they will go there.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? What else did you really like?
Another Story of Narcissus, but gayer.
All right.
Wind Up Bird Chronicle, but in 98 Harlem, New York.
I did
90s
that.
hip hop and weird shit. I would really like to see that.
There's one there that right next to it that says Three Musketeers, but it's a blaxploitation miniseries on HBO. Adam Driver plays Rich Liu, which like I can already imagine now Adam Driver losing his mind, going
He would really.
he'd be like, "Married, god damn it!"
Stop it.
He's French,
He, like,
so I just
punches
wanted
the
to have an
wall.
excuse to do that impression.
To say married
Yeah,
in a really bad accent. Married.
Yeah,
Sorry to all the French people.
Sorry, yeah, I know.
You
We have
are
like a demographic.
A French person.
We have a demographic that is French
I know.
listeners, so I'm really sorry.
Oh, okay. I like this one answer. The Orpheus and Eurydice, but make it so he doesn't look back talaga. Which, to the person who sent that, there are fics that exist of that.
We will link you.
Solve. But then also,
we'll put them in the show
but then also,
notes.
I super understand that because like it's such a huge frustration, and like I think another great, it just like to like tangent on this a bit. Shout out to all the nerds out there who are gonna like go crazy with me mentioning this, but Hades Town, which is an incredible musical, is basically steampunk AU Greek gods, focused on the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, and just to visually see, spoiler alert, that bit where he does look back is so heartbreaking and like insane, and like you can also hear it, like it's in the cast album. You can kind of tell when it happens, and I hate it every single time. So to the person who sent this, I feel for you, but also I can send you links if you want.
Yeah, we're gonna like definitely put up links and show notes.
Yeah.
We're also hitting so many different demographics of our listeners. Certain factions of K-pop stans, musical theater nerds, the French.
Yeah.
So this is hitting.
We're
we're
Irish sort of at one point.
Yeah, we're going places with this episode.
Oh yeah.
Reading Break allows us to do
Absolutely.
that. Do you have any other?
Can I mention the two?
Oh yeah,
the two ones.
Yeah, two people.
Two people mentioned To Kill a Mockingbird modern AU, but one person noted, make it 21st century, but sadly, it's not a stretch.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. You could literally just watch a colorized version of like the old To Kill a Mockingbird film, and you'd be all like, "Is this the news?" Anyway,
I want to read my favorite.
The favorite one?
Yes,
yeah,
my favorite answer, because this is something that is totally feasible considering
and
Mandy and me.
Us.
We would definitely be game for doing this one day. And this person suggested Inferno, but make it drunk history. 100% I would be willing to do that. So
same. I want to do this so bad.
We'll set a
just
time
you
and day
wait.
for it. Just
you wait. Yeah. Exactly. One day it will happen.
Ooh, okay.
When this pandemic is over and we are finally in the same city again.
Yeah. I have to say, like, I don't know. We've talked about, like, obviously, like, our classic lit classes with Maddie Miller's miniseries, but we should also mention, like, at least for the people who are kind of like coming into this fresh, like, we're very like deep Dante nerds, because in the university where we both attended for our undergraduate, like, Dante was such a huge figure, like, across courses, like, everyone read Dante, so everyone is quite familiar with Dante.
It was literally a rec.
It was
required reading.
Yeah.
And it was such Dante was such an intense like figure in our lives that one of our best friends once was asked to play Dante for the Italian embassy, and the cosplay went so hard that actually, why am I saying our friend? It was Leon.
Yeah, our guest, our semi-guest from the Song of Achilles episode.
Oh, was it Song of Achilles? Yeah.
Yes.
Song of Achilles episode. He was invited to the Italian embassy for, I think it was Dante's, like, was it his, like, 200th birthday or something? It was, like, 500th birthday.
Like,
I don't know.
Like he's older than
You're
that
right.
number.
I feel like he's, yeah, sure. It was like that. It was like one of his birth anniversaries in the hundreds. And he was asked to play Dante for it and recite some stuff from the translation, and I was not invited to the event, but I was invited to go with him for his plaster, or like his face plastering, because they made him, like, they casted his face so they could give him a Dante nose. I'm gonna look for pictures of it, and then maybe see if we can post it. So good.
I really don't want to take the responsibility of sharing it, because to this day I'm still horrified by the final result. I'm so sorry if you're listening to this, Leon.
I know.
It's terrifying. It's seriously.
It was insane.
It's one of those things that was too painful to live through.
But, like, the woman who did it was an Italian. She's an Italian immigrant, and she lives here in the Philippines now and does SFX for a living. Like, she studied in Italy and everything. She went to art school. She's really good, but, like, it was too good. That's what we mean. That's why it was terrifying.
Absolutely.
Because, like, Leon, he really looked like a different person.
I mean, okay, too good. Like, I would say, like, it was sort of like the Polar Express level of, like, realism.
Yes. Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, his eyes seem slightly dead, but...
yeah, but this is crazy.
Yeah. So,
is huge.
So Dante was obviously a huge figure at our university, and, like, we studied him so intensely that I could recount to you, like whole things about certain cantos, and, like, this is always something I've wanted to... Like, if we ever, like, did one of those cantos, I would love to talk to you about how astrology plays a role in Dante's universe.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We've only talked about this very us,
but it's a
I
huge
super want to go
topic.
into that.
Yeah,
I remember that being a paper. I think.
Yeah, it was one of my earliest papers that I
Yeah.
really broke through with it because I'd made this sort of thesis statement where, like, you see Dante building up to this change in character that's defined by their society's relation to astrology. Yeah, like at the time or like we're basically doing the episode now, but like they basically in that time medieval like Florence, like they were sort of the belief that the stars dictated their nature, so they kind of resigned themselves to whatever came up on their co-star essentially.
they're etched co-stars.
Yeah, they're etched co-stars.
And they're astrologists and stuff. Anyway, so that's a cool one, and I would really love to do that one day.
Mm-hmm.
I think so the person who suggested that, I just want to say this real quick, but like the person who suggested that is a good friend of mine, and I think the reason why she said it was because she kind of has witnessed me do like, so one of the reasons because I'm not as academic as Mio. I mean, like, I love, I'm here and I like reading,
okay,
and I love school, but like, for me, the way that I process things was that I kind of would turn the stuff into bits. I mean, like the cantos and stuff into bits so that I would remember them. And I had a multiple of them. And one of my friends, that friend who suggested the thing, she used to be my workmate, and she asked a question about Dante once, and I think I answered it via bit, and she laughed so hard, and she was like, "You should do that like all the time." And I was like, no. But then and I said, and then she started watching Drunk History because she had never seen it. I had shown it to her, and she was like, "This is how you should tell people about the Inferno." And I was like, that's horrifying. But
so Comedy Central, if you're listening,
also
part of our listenership, consider us for your guests for the Dante's Inferno episode.
If they ever do Drunk Lit.
Yeah.
I don't think
they kind of have. They kind of drunk writers, but not.
Or what if they did like it's Drunk History, but it's like Dante, like something that happened in Dante's life,
Yeah, no, they definitely could. Okay,
exactly.
wait. Let's
not necessarily the Inferno.
Yeah, we should move on. We should start moving on to our next question. So it was a question that was in reference to Conversation with Friends, which is a novel that was about 2 spoken word poets in some part. And we wanted to know who were some of your favorite spoken word poets. We name dropped one. I actually have to make a public...
Our favorite one.
Yes, our favorite one. But I have to make a public amendment because I realized afterwards we have 2 favorite ones.
We have
2 personal...
top 2.
2 personal favorites.
Build, like they're top 2 build.
Yes, literally.
If we were to make a movie about spoken word, they would be build at the same time.
So Jam
They would be
Pascual
both first build.
So Jam Pascual was one, and also, are we gonna say it at the same time?
Are you gonna say it? Are we? I was waiting for you to say it.
Come on, Patty Ramos.
Patty Ramos.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Also our favorite.
Patty. Also our favorite. Yes, my wife.
We love her.
Wife.
We love her. She was on
if
our
you've never
trivia.
read
She
her
was on our
work.
team on trivia night, along with Jam.
She was.
And honestly, like while I was like reading through the questions again and thinking about the spoken word poems that stayed with me, there was a thing about like Patty where like I knew her as a poet before I became her friend through you. And it was
and you didn't even know that she was my friend.
I didn't know that she was your friend. I had discovered
Do you
her.
remember when you? Are you good?
Yeah, I
talking about the lecture.
What I remembered was that I had shared her poems in a pilot class at our university that we were trying to start a poetry course, and so I, as part of the pilot class, I shared her poem "Eat Your Rice," which I really love.
Yes, which is one of her most famous ones.
Yes,
and if you've never
check
heard
that
poem,
out if you haven't.
try looking for it.
Jam Pascual.
Yeah, and when you
Prayer.
flashed it on the screen, I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, those two folks, we love them. Do you have did you have people that you wanted to note down? You spoken word poets?
No, it's honestly Patty.
Okay.
Patty and Jam for real. Like,
Patty and Jam for real.
I actually don't go into spoken word a lot.
It was something, I mean, like, clearly, like, and I'm sure they'll agree, the trend for that was, like, much bigger when we were in college. But it's been, like, 5 years from that now, and I feel like even when we were coming out of college, the trend for that was starting to kind of, like, mellow out. Although, like, there's still a lot of, like, spoken word poets now.
Yeah.
The one who I wanted to also highlight, in case you've never seen this performance, I remember watching this documentary about New York spoken word poets from in high school, and there was one who, like, really blew me away, and his poem still stays with me. His name's Adam Gottlieb, and his poem's called Poet Breathe Now. I'll link it also in the show notes. Okay, and we're gonna read.
Have you shown this to me?
I feel like I have. It's a huge, like, it's a really fun, like, he really, like, pulls out the performative aspect of it, and like it's one of those things where, like, with spoken word poetry, I think, like, one of the limitations of it is that, because you're processing it in the moment as something performative, there's less of a chance for you to be able to go back and kind of review the text in the same way like you would do it like someone like, say, Dante, for example. But like that kind of like emphasizes that performance in the moment. And I think with that
absolutely.
particular, I mean, like, without really saying what that poem was about, like, he definitely got the audience sort of almost like on his side to like understand what he was going through as he was delivering the poem. And you'll understand what I mean when you see that performance.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like quick mention. So there's someone who said Sarah Kay and Phil Kay, obviously legends. I saw them twice, 2 times that they came to Manila.
Yes.
One
and
time
we've
they came.
met them.
Yeah, one time that they came to my school. Yeah,
which
so
was awesome, cool. And I hosted that event, which was cool. And then afterwards, we had a little like session with that. Right? Didn't you?
Yeah,
and
we
Leon
did.
Sit
That's
in
right.
on that
That's
or
right.
something?
That's right. Someone also mentioned Clementine von Radix. Clementine von Radix. Mm-hmm. Someone mentioned Schmidt in 22 Jump Street, obviously living legend. So yeah, spoken word poetry. I also want one more caveat, like I wanted to add in about poetry or like spoken poetry. I mean, like, I think as I've gotten older, even though I'm less into spoken word poetry, I haven't lost my love for oral poetry or read poetry. Like, I think around the same time that I was getting into spoken word poetry, I was also getting into poets who were reading their own work, especially modern poets. And you can find it on Spotify. There are a lot of modern poets who read their work. I really love Frank O'Hara reading his poems. I really love Elizabeth Bishop reading her poems. And it's so nice when you kind of also like get to read a little more into how these like recordings were made. Because like I think with Elizabeth Bishop in particular, she was very shy about recording her poetry. So she, like her poems that she read a lot from her book Geography 3. So I really love, like, that's my favorite book of hers, and in that you kind of see that her reading of it is quite effortless. So I also like wondered, like, it made me very curious to wonder what made her shy to read her poems. But poets will relate.
John Green and his wife actually have a new channel. It's fairly
right.
New. Like they started a bit before. Do you remember that? We saw that together.
Yeah,
they have a new channel where
Ars Poetica?
Ars Poetica, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
You guys can check it out on YouTube. It's pretty awesome because they do the same thing where they either they get someone to read an old poem or like a modern one and it's not the author, or they get an author mismo or like a writer or a poet to read their own work, which is awesome. And Rainn Wilson has a great one. He recently did one which is awesome. I forgot which poem it is, but it's a long form one, and it was really beautiful the way that he read it. And then also, if you remember that guy who got famous for that Purple Rain cover,
Tay Zonday,
the guy with a really he has one too.
Chocolate Rain.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Chocolate Rain. Did I say Purple Rain?
You said Purple.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Anyway,
I meant Chocolate Rain. Yeah, he has one also. He has a little episode of 2 of him.
Yeah, that's a great channel.
And there's some Phil writers on that as well. So
yeah, like Amy Nezuko. Okay,
awesome.
Next question, because like somewhat related question. Which authors would you like us to cover on the podcast? So far we've done like Sally Rooney, Madeline Miller, and then next.
No, the next question is FanQuest.
Oh, did I miss a question?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, sorry, I did. I missed the question. So our next question is about...
That's erasure.
Sorry. Our next question is about Song of Achilles, and it's, who would you fan cast? Yeah, I even wrote my answer down for it. I'm so sorry. Who would you fan cast as...
I don't have an answer.
What? Okay. All right. We're gonna dig into
maybe
that.
We can like because
I do have an answer.
Yours, and then maybe when we
it's a joke answer.
We talk about it more.
Okay.
Obviously
so the question was who would you fan cast as Achilles and Patroclus? And the thing is, like, we're basing this partly on the knowledge that in the 2004 adaptation of Troy, there obviously Achilles and Patroclus played roles in the story. So they were played by Brad Pitt and Garrett Hedlund. Who, like, Garrett Hedlund, like, knowing who he is now, like, still surprises me to this day. But we wanted to get people to say who they thought would be good matches for these roles. Could you read some of the answers, Amanda? Before I get
Anthony
my
Starr
answer.
and Michael Cera.
Yeah, that one's surprising. I think that would make like for a very offbeat rom-com.
That would be yeah. I was gonna say that would be like the rom-com not even rom-com AU, but like Scott Pilgrim AU. You know, like if it was that same universe where everyone was like,
no, that's right. No, I actually super 100% agree with this angle because. Can you just sort of imagine like Michael Cera going like, oh yeah, I'm not really like up to, I'm not like worth, he's like a god, you know?
Oh wait, Michael Cera,
yeah.
Okay, so Michael Cera's
Patroclus.
Okay, great.
You thought he was Achilles?
Definitely. No. You're right. Sorry, that's on me.
Amazing that you thought Anthony
Starr
but like, between the
two of them,
The Boys
Anthony Starr
Patroclus.
would be. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that's
one.
God,
that would be so funny.
There's another one that was
Michael,
like...
Can you just imagine? That would be insane.
Yeah, there's another one. There's another answer that I thought was also like hilarious in terms of just like... Clearly the casting here is due to scale. Go on, read it. Read it.
Oh God, you're gonna make me do it? The Rock as Achilles because he's big. Tapos, Timothée Chalamet as Patroclus because he's a soft boy. Not a soft boy,
not a small...
but a soft space boy.
Or not even like a soft... I mean, I would say small boy, but...
Yeah, I'd say
compared
he's very,
to the Rock.
lithe. Yeah. I don't know. And the person who... Another good friend of mine is the person who sent this in. And she... And this is not supposed to be a call-out, I'm just saying, but she has not read Song of Achilles, nor the Iliad. So she clearly was just like, what do I know from pop culture? Right. One of them is supposed to be really strong, and the other is a guy. And she was just like, who needs to... I don't know. That would be so funny. Because Timothée Chalamet is like 5'9" or something.
Yeah, and The Rock is like
6'12".
Yeah, he's a giant.
He's 6'12" and like 500 pounds.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
His name is The Rock.
His name is The Rock, which is what mountains are made of. Chalamet, which one part of it is the word chalet.
If you want to weigh in on this.
Anyway, okay, my personal answer for this. So here's the thing. I have to say, I didn't really have a serious answer for this question. And I really tried to think. I really tried to put on my filmography, like film world hat on and try to imagine like who are up and coming actors who would seem fit for this role. And I really could not think of people like off the top of my head without like resorting to like obvious choices like Timothée. So I was at a loss for who I would cast in this role. And then earlier today I was watching Alien Covenant. And I don't know, you haven't seen Alien Covenant, right?
I have not.
Now, Alien Covenant and Prometheus, they both feature Michael Fassbender as an android. And the thing is, in Prometheus, he plays one android. And then in Alien Covenant, they use the same technology that they used to replicate the bodies of Lindsay Lohan and Armand Hammer Jr. to create a second... Michael Fassbender.
I'm sorry, did you say Armand Hammer Jr.?
Yeah, you heard me. So
also, did you say Lindsay Lohan? Okay.
Yeah, from The Parent Trap, which is the movie I'm referring to. So my pitch for Achilles and Patroclus, because there was a scene...
Oh my God, is your
pitch... Wait, listen.
Listen. Wait a minute.
Listen.
I'm sorry, is your pitch...
So my pitch, because there's a scene...
Twincest?
Wait. So there's a... No, but they're not the same, because in... Okay, listen to me. Listen to me first. Wait. I wasn't even thinking of that, but like, because in my head, they were playing separate characters. They were playing separate characters.
Because your top two examples just now were for people who play twins.
No, because again, I'm thinking in the realm of Alien Covenant Michael Fassbender is playing two different androids who, sure, they look the same, but one is named David, the other one was named Walter.
Okay.
And there was a scene where I was like, oh, they have great chemistry, which is funny because they're the same guy.
Wow.
And at some point, like Michael Fassbender makes Michael Fassbender play the flute, and he teaches him how to play the flute. And then it gets like very
That's
like
gay.
intimate. And then at some point, Michael Fassbender kisses Michael Fassbender. And it made me think,
So it's twincest.
they confirmed
It's
it.
twincest.
They confirmed it. So it would be so funny if you
Also,
had
I'm sorry, what movie is this again?
Alien Covenant. So
Just for the people who didn't catch it. Right.
so
Alien
it would be
Covenant,
so
right.
funny if they had an adaptation of Song of Achilles where Achilles and Patroclus were played by the same guy, and everyone's
I
like,
hate you so
Achilles
much.
is so
You-
handsome, he's
this
like
is-
the best guy, and Patroclus
This
is
is
like
literally called twincest.
like thrown away, cast aside, and
The more you say it,
they
the
tell him
more
like,
it's
you're worth
twincest.
nothing. It's like, I literally look like him. It's so funny. And like
You're
maybe the
literally
only
the
difference
worst.
is that the Achilles Michael Fassbender is glowing, while Patroclus Michael Fassbender is just like on a normal
he's
human
just a regular
filter.
guy.
Yeah, he's just a regular guy. So that's my pitch. Michael Fassbender
Your pitch is
Achilles,
twincest. I'm sorry,
and
let's
Michael
just for
Fassbender
everyone.
as
This is
Patroclus.
like
They're
this is like that
playing
episode
different
of Community.
characters.
No, it's like that episode of Community
playing
when
different
Garrett
characters.
had to accidentally married his cousin and didn't know. And then at the end, the writer was like, I mean, like they're like, what do you call this? Their credit scene was like the writer being like, "Hi, I'm the guy who wrote this episode, and for this episode to go on air, Dan Hardman made me sign a contract saying that I had to go on camera telling you, the audience, that I am the guy that wrote the incest episode."
And in order
That's what this is.
in order to record this episode, Amanda told me that I, Mio, had to go on and say, I'm gonna like insert it into the credits. Okay.
Yeah, like, put it in it.
All right. Next question. So the question that I jumped to. See, you see why I
Yes.
jumped over. I was also nervous to
It's an
answer
exciting
the question.
though. I will
Which
not lie.
authors would you like us to cover on the podcast one day? We got like tons of interesting answers to that question.
I know.
I think it was one of our most answered questions. We got Lemony Snicket. We got Emily St. John Mandel, Dorothy Parker, Ray Bradbury, Michael Chabon, Haruki Murakami. Someone even said Gia Tolentino, who is better at individual articles versus full books. Interesting perspective to like
Interesting
to
take.
examine her work against. Jeffrey Gennadies, we love him. We've read. I remember that was one of the first authors who you and
Books
I
that
bonded
we've
over.
Bonded over. That's actually true.
when-
Oh no, but we did think of him.
But
we
yeah,
were
but like
starting
when
this,
we
didn't
when we met, we specifically bonded over how you really love. I had just recently read The Marriage Plot at the time,
I had
and that was one of
yes,
your
and I loved it
favorite
in high
books.
school.
Yeah.
In high school, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then there was also like room. Someone was suggesting that we would also do graphic novels. Brian K. Vaughan, who wrote Why the Last Man, among other things. That's the one I know him best for. And Jason Aaron.
Yes.
I like these answers because like especially Brian K. Vaughan and Gia Tolentino, like they're like these are writers who are outside of the genre that we've been exploring so far. So far we've just been doing novels. But will the door be open for us to do something other than novels in the future? Stay tuned because we might have something in the works. Do you have any personal answers for who you'd want to cover on the podcast?
I do agree on Eugenides. I think that would be good, even if it's just for one book.
Mhm.
Who else should we do? I would like to do short stories. Did
Yeah.
we? Oh, that's another.
Oh, that's
question
another
coming
question.
up,
That's
but
still
then,
later.
yeah. Sorry, that was. I'm thinking of my answer for that question, but yeah, I think everyone's answer so far. I would like to do graphic novels because I actually have not read a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
man. I'd love to
so
do
that
like
would be good.
specific comic storylines as well. There are a lot of
Yeah,
them that
that
I
would be
think
really
spark
intense.
really interesting discussions.
Mhm.
Uh,
I really want to do Paper Girls.
yeah,
I've read
yeah,
volume.
yeah.
I've only read the first one. I had it before, but then I think I gave it away afterwards. But-
Yeah,
and
that's
I kind of
fun.
regret that now.
That's
but I can always
definitely
buy it.
fun.
But then, like, yeah, that was a good one. what are other ones? What are books that we both
Well, like certain
I was gonna say somebody, but then like
stories.
no, it might be a spoiler.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, what did you say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, my personal answers, I think, for this would be, well, David Mitchell, who I covered on the R&R. As I was saying, on our first read and review post, I was saying that I've been a somewhat long-time follower of his work, and I'd love to, like, kind of, like, zero in on the scale of the world that he tries to build throughout all his novels, which I feel like he didn't really add to with his latest novel, Utopia Avenue. In spite of the fact that he put so much effort into connecting the books together by like making characters cameo in and out throughout the whole novel. So I thought it was like interesting that he wasn't able to do that. Nick Joaquin is all-time favorite.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Nick Joaquin.
Yeah, Nick Joaquin.
I'm literally looking at my bedside books right now.
Elizabeth Bishop, who aside from doing poetry, has also
a
done
suggestion.
some prose.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that a suggestion that we kind of brought up between us before was like more on like stuff that had become like popular adaptations. Like if we did like a mini series on like stuff that had really popular adaptations, I think that would be pretty cool.
Right.
Like if we didn't do Normal People, we probably would have done it in that segment. And then I only remember that now because I have a copy of Broadchurch sitting right there. Broadchurch would have been one, and then like in that same miniseries, you could also have like the 2005, Pride and Prejudice and etc.
Yeah, I'll say one more author I'd love to cover is George Saunders, who I think one of the funniest aspects of his career is that he's a guy who's been known for short stories for the longest time. That imagine that he was like writing short stories for 10 years and everyone only knew him as a short story writer and like one of the best, especially in American fiction. And then like 2017, 2018, he released Lincoln in the Bardo, which was his first novel, and then immediately got like launched into all these accolades. I forget if it won the Booker, but it was certainly nominated for it. And it was so funny to think about George Saunders, this legend, this absolute titan in short fiction, being referred to as a debut novelist. It was like, I don't know. I feel like
I don't know about that, my dude.
That seems like a funny way to look at it. I mean, though it's technically true. Yeah. So possible authors we could cover on the podcast. Next question. So this was another poll, which was overwhelmingly in the positive. The question was
insane in the membrane. I'm so mad.
Be honest.
All of you are traitors. All of you voted traitors.
Now, Amanda, let's
voters fraud.
Let's let the listeners hear the question first. Be honest.
There should be a recount.
You're doing impressions. You're technically doing impressions.
Yes. I am.
So the question
I just thought of that now because I just remembered that the GIF we used for this is Fauci.
Yeah. So the question was, be honest, should Mia do more impressions? And 91% of the people who voted said
91.
Yes.
I hate that. I hate that we're going for the popular vote.
And to reward you for that, to reward you for your loyalty, I will do at least one impression right now. One of the stock impressions that I have, which is like, I don't know.
Which is what?
Varys from Game of Thrones.
Oh, wait. I think I have a video of you doing this.
The Queen mustn't know. I must admit, Lord Tyrion, I did not anticipate you to be so effective
Jesus Christ.
at this game of Thrones.
Oh my god. Okay.
Which I totally just which I completely 100% ripped off from another YouTuber who does just straight up impressions of everyone. Most of the time, my technique for learning impressions is just watching other impressionists and then seeing how they move their mouth. You actually have a really good impression that I'm so jealous of, Amanda. You know which one I'm talking about. And I want you to tell the story and do the impression. Please. Yes.
Is it walking?
Go. Tell the story. Tell the story. All right, I'll tell the story, and then you do the impression. So we sometimes would watch Mass together or like simultaneously. And then there was a time, Mandy, recently where you were saying to me you were watching a Mass and you were so distracted.
No, it wasn't even a Mass, it was rosary.
You were watching a rosary and you were so
rosary.
distracted because the priest who was leading it, you said, sounded specifically like Christopher Walken. And I said,
no, sorry. I wanna clarify this. I did not say that he sounded like Christopher Walken. I said that he sounded like Fred Armisen's impression of Christopher Walken from the Walken family reunion sketch on SNL, which is one of my favorite sketches of all time, and it's on YouTube. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look for it now, because Fred Armisen in that is hilarious because he's Latino and he's like doing this really Jewish voice, like Jewish New York voice-ish. And I'm sorry, is he Jewish?
Well, let's hear I want to hear the impression. Come on.
Anyway, so like the way that because Mio was really like, what the hell is that supposed to sound like besides Fred Armisen? And I was like, just imagine Fred Armisen doing Christopher Walken, but then Christopher Walken is playing.
Can you do like one Mass line?
Doing the rosary.
Do one Mass line.
Oh my god, what's a good Mass line?
Through the kingdom, the power, and the glory.
Oh, okay. Oh god, I have to get into it. I hate this so much. I hate that you're making me do this.
I'm so excited.
This is not even one
of
my good
impressions. I'm so excited, guys. It's so good.
Okay. Oh wait, no, I had to really kind of remember what it is.
For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours.
No, it's not the line. I'm Catholic. Okay. It's the.
I just had to like run you through it.
Yeah. Through the line, thanks.
For the kingdom.
For the kingdom. And the power. And the glory are yours. Now and forever. It's really hard to do because it's a whole body thing. So literally my whole body now just became very stiff, and I was literally nodding with my whole body.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I would 91% vote for Amanda to do more impressions on this podcast. Absolutely.
I hate this.
Overwhelmingly.
Up
Overwhelmingly.
to you, just be Father Walken.
Yeah.
That's what we call him too. We call him the biggest Father
Walken.
Father, we call him Father Walken. It's
I'd go to that
him
guy's
just
parish.
being like, we remember. We celebrate.
Okay, so let's move.
I hate that you made me do this.
We gotta move on because I think we have to sort of go through a few more questions before we do our speed round AMA. So we had one more question that was about normal people, whether people preferred the book or the series, and then we included like a sort of joke option, which was what's normal people, and hilariously a lot of most people answered the joke option. So I think that sort of which is funny because I think that sort of speaks to, I guess, like the limitations of maybe the series' cultural influence, that it might have gotten to a certain segment of the internet, but not everyone also got on board for it, and there's still a lot of people who have yet to discover Normal People or Sally Rooney.
Normal People, yeah.
But it also means that we kind of just have to expand, I guess, the parameters, the scope of our series, of our podcast, so that people know what we're talking about, because we're just talking about novels the whole time. Next question. So we said that because we're doing Zadie Smith and we're ending on Grand Union, it will be our first ever short story collection that we'll cover on the podcast. So we asked people, what were some of your favorite short stories? Could you read some of the highlight answers?
Okay, someone said My Father Goes to Court. Yukiko Motoya's The Lonesome Builder, and also Q&A. I have not read that one. Actually, most of these I haven't read. Actually, all of these I was
surprised. A lot of these answers. The one that I have read among these answers is Study in Emerald in October in the Chair by Neil Gaiman, which I really appreciated because that's they're from the same collection, Fragile Things, and I love those stories as well.
Yeah, you do love that one.
Yeah.
Shattered Life by. Is this a joke answer? I can't tell. I don't know. A Shattered Life by M59 Gar on
Oh no, it's
the
dude,
Reddit
it's a
thread
Reddit.
knows-
Yeah, it's a Reddit.
It's a
It's like a
Reddit-
creepypasta.
That's why. Oh, it's a creepypasta. No,
It's probably
I
a
don't like that.
creepypasta. I'm not gonna
I'm
read
gonna
that
slap a
tonight. That's
person
for
who-
sure.
Yeah, 100% no.
Do you have any personal answers?
I do. My favorite short story collection of all time is.
Oh yeah, you have. I know some of your favorite short stories.
Yes, is my favorite collection in general is from. Oh my god, I'm blanking on his name, but it's called The Kite of Stars, and I read it in high school when I was starting to get into Phil Lit, and I really like that. There are a lot of really good stories in that, and the one that sticks out the most was this one about that was basically like a AU where it was like so the thing about Kite of Stars also is that it's all set in the same universe, which is like a Philippines that like it's like a spec fic Philippines basically, so there's like a lot of supernatural powers, but then also there's still colonialism.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of like religious imagery and stuff like that. So I would say that's one of my favorites.
So that's Kite of Stars by Dean Francis Alfar.
Dean Francis Alfar, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh my god. Because in my head I kept saying F. Chanel Jose and I didn't.
Nope.
Not the
Nope.
person.
Nope.
100% we do not invoke the name. Next to I also have a collection here by Jose Dalisay actually called Voyager, which is very good. It's really it's good. I haven't read it in a long time, so I can't remember a lot of it, but I do remember super enjoying it. In general, I do like a lot of short stories from our local, like our best writers.
Yes.
And of course, Nick Joaquin also has a ton of iconic.
Made Eve, Summer Solstice.
Made Eve, indeed.
I put down a few stories that have stayed with me over the last 5 years. And I mean, like they're sort of the things where like I really want to do more short stories also on the podcast, because I want to kind of dispel the notion that there's less to talk about in a short story because it's short.
Yeah,
absolutely. There are so many short stories I've read where they contain worlds that we could essentially focus on for the same amount of time that we would give to like Cersei, to be honest. So like some of the choices.
Sorry, I have another answer also, but like just remind me. Some of the
continue. The choices that I included, if you can find these, are stories that I think are absolutely wonderful. The Swim Team by Miranda July, Two Men by Dennis Johnson, Free by Claire Wigfall, Fly by Olivia Gunning, which you can find on Short Fiction UK, Luxury Hour by Sarah Hall, Tell the Sky by Luis Katigbak. That's the one like I was struggling. I was like trying to remember the exact title of that. That's a fantastic story. And the barn at the end of our term by Karen Russell. So those are some choices that I wanted to shout out to for this question. You said you wanted to put in one more answer.
Yeah, no, you said Katigbak, and that made me remember also something by, I don't think it's the same Katigbak, but there was a story I read in high school, which me and my friends had talked about just recently. So shout out to my group chat called Roxy's Test Kitchen. You know who you are. And we talked about this story in high school that we had all read in English class, which was like amazing. And it was called The Virgin. And it's by a local writer. Oh my god, was it? I can't remember who wrote it, but like, I think she's canceled though, but I don't know. Anyway, but it was still a really good story because I remember that was the story that our English teacher used to like teach us about like femininity and sexuality, and taught us how to properly say the word penis, because she was like, "Don't be afraid to say the word penis," and we were like, we're very young and Catholic. So that's one. That's a really good one. And then another one. I'm so sorry, Mio, but I'm gonna have to do this because it's sitting right here, and I'm gonna have to pull up a collection of prose fiction that I happen to have lying here. And it does include one of my favorite stories.
I also wanted to point, chime in and say, I think the story that you were referring to is The Virgin by Karima Polotan.
Karima Polota, yeah.
Okay.
There.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, again, prose
Yeah,
fiction?
so this one, it's called Prose Fiction, and it was published in the UK.
Oh, whatever do
by
you
Eggbox
mean?
Publishing. And for some reason, the upper title here on Prose Fiction, it says UEA Postgraduate Anthology 2018.
Okay.
Crazy shit. And there's a really good story here by a certain... Actually, for real though, like all of the stories here are actually really good, and
They
I
are
have read
good,
this
they are
whole
good.
anthology.
Mhm.
It's very good. But there's one person named J. Marcelo.
Oh, shut
Borromeo,
up. Come on.
and he has a story called "This Must Be the Place," and I just wanted to shout that out because that is truly one of my favorite short stories.
Aww.
Because I do, and I think about that scene a lot. I mean, like that whole short story.
Yeah, it's a short story.
But, when the time
I
comes,
obviously feel very
we'll
proud
talk
of.
about it.
Yeah. And now, from that sweet sentiment, let's move on to our next question, which is your prank ideas on the pranks I should play.
Wait, no,
on
sorry.
my-
There was another one. Sorry, can I just
Okay.
go back? Last na lang. Another good short story that I really like and has haunted me to this day is... But I did not like it at the time because when we read it in college, I was like, this is going to haunt me for the rest of my life. And it did. It's A Good Man is Hard to Find.
Ah, yes, Flannery O'Connor.
Yeah, very
Yes,
good short story.
absolute classic,
If you like
Stone
that
Cold
kind
classic.
of... Like, if you want to read that and then, like, for them, some old Americana Gothic lit, that's very good. And then right after... go into Nick Joaquin for some tropical gothic.
Yeah.
That's good too, because that's actually what I did. Like, I read that, and then after that, I think our professor was like, if you want to like cleanse yourself of this, I dare you to read more of Nick Joaquin. And I was like, okay. And then I got duped. Anyway,
Flannery O'Connor, absolute
Flannery
classic who I'd
O'Connor,
also love
legend.
to cover on this podcast at some point.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'd be willing.
Yeah.
Even if in college she really was somebody I just wanted to
Yeah.
stop reading.
She's a good
because our
person
professor,
to sort of wrangle, whose stories are good to
yeah,
wrangle.
I agree. Like because our professor really loved her. Like he did his doctorate on her and stuff, and so he was like very obviously knowledgeable about her work and stuff. And so we had I think around 4 assignments for our Western literature class that were just her works, including one of her shorter novels, which is called Wise Blood, which I do not like. And if we were to cover her, I would not want to cover that book. But in general, I think she's such an interesting person to have, written the kind of shit that she did.
Wise Blood, which later served as the inspiration for Taylor Swift's.
Oh my god, I thought you were going to say something serious because
No.
I was like, oh my god,
No,
is
of
it
course
someone that
not.
we
Of course
love?
not.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we got Wise Blood.
yeah.
That's what we used to sing in
Yeah,
college.
we used to sing in college. Okay, pranks to play on Mandy. There were 2 answers, which I would honestly
hate this.
combine to form one consolidated
I know.
prank. The 2 answers were Mio dress up as a McDonald's delivery man and surprise her. The other one was fill her shoes with toothpaste.
With toothpaste, which is
And I would honestly do both.
coming
Like
from
I would
that
dress up as
specific
a
person who said that. By the way, that's a very her answer.
I would dress up as a delivery person and surprise you with shoes that are filled with toothpaste.
Shoes. I know.
Okay.
You would so do that.
Yeah. So just you wait, Mandy. Your time
All right.
will come. Okay, I think
Alright.
let's speed round the AMA questions we got because we got quite a good number of AMA questions
That's
from
true, we
you,
did.
our listeners, and we're gonna run through them. The first question was not really a question, but a request that we will definitely fulfill by the time you listen to this episode. The question/request was, "Enge one fan cam each, please." Yes, we are making fan cams
Jesus
for
Christ.
each of us.
He really talked me into that, by the way.
I
was like, I don't want to do
love
this,
fan
but he was
cams.
like, no.
They're so
yeah,
funny.
he does.
They're
He
so
does.
funny.
This is
Grabe.
okay,
I
guys.
will
Literally,
send
Mio is turning
Mandy
into like a
fan
proper. You're turning into like a proper Twitter fanboy because you're learning Korean.
I mean,
You
yeah,
love fan
I
cams.
guess. I suppose
Who's,
this
who's your bias
podcast
group?
changed me.
You
I
need
don't
to
know.
tell us.
Hop
Yeah,
along.
this podcast changed you. All right.
Okay, next question. Novels or series that you'd love to be turned into musicals? I have a good non-answer for this because I actually don't often think of novels or series that I'd love to be turned into musicals.
I 100% do.
Well, okay, you answer first because yours is the more serious answer then.
Oh, so you have a joke answer yet again?
Well, no, it's not a joke answer. It's just that I don't think of novels or series that I'd love to be turned into musicals. I think of something else that I'd love to turn into a musical. But you
I
go ahead.
do have an answer like that. Okay, so for novels and series, I think I would like to see. Well, I mentioned it earlier, but like if you could do short stories
Yeah.
into like a mini series of music, like that's what I was thinking of. Like if, for example, Kite of Stars, especially since the stories in Kite of Stars are in one universe, you could do like a Black Mirror kind of thing,
Right.
where it's like a mini series and then each episode is like kind of musical. I think that would be really interesting. Or I'm trying to think of Filipino ones because we need more Filipino musicals, honestly, in my opinion. I think also it would be great to expand the Hadestown universe, so to speak, because if Phantom of the Opera can have a sequel, then why not Hadestown?
They should connect it to the video game Hades.
Hades? Yeah, okay. That could be
Which,
counted.
by the way,
totally
also, like,
answer.
if you haven't yet, whether you haven't played Hades or encountered it in any form, you should definitely 100% either play it or at least listen to the soundtrack. The soundtrack is bomb.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's insane. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I totally agree.
They were able to integrate it into the characters of Orpheus and Eurydice, and every time like I hear them playing the jams, I'm like, yeah, boy,
Yeah.
so good,
Yeah, buddy.
so good.
I think P&P would make a good musical too because the Little Women musical is actually quite good.
I was like thinking for a second like P&P. I was like P and Peel.
P&P.
No, I know.
No,
I know.
They have a lot of good musicals though.
Anyway,
they have a lot of their Les Mis.
They have a Les Mis,
sketch
yeah.
was really good.
No, but okay, I know what you mean. Pride and Prejudice, yeah.
Yeah, I had another answer earlier, but I can't remember it now. Jesus Christ. If I remember, I guess it'll come to me. Good Omens, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's
Good
a good
Omens
one.
would make
That
a
is
really good musical,
one.
actually.
Seeing its success as a series, yeah.
As a series, as a mini-series, it was a good mini-series. It's a very successful book. I think if it was a very... But then, like, the people who would have to do the music, it'd have to be very specific. So I think they'd have to get that guy who did the score, who's, like, the main BBC guy for those kinds of series. What's his name again? Daniel Arnold, I think is his name.
Right.
Very good.
Oh, yes,
His scores are always good.
Matthew Arnold, I think. Or no, wait, I'm thinking of the literary critic. Never mind. Forget what I said. Is it Matthew Arnold? I feel like it is.
I know his last name's Arnold,
yeah,
right?
Okay. Anyway, my answer for it, because I was that I don't often think of novels or series that I'd love to be turned into musicals, but I often think in the Jagged Little Pill style of musical making, which is to just get discography,
agree,
and make that into a musical. And I mean, like the one example I had for it, I realized there is a musical for it already, and it's God Help the Girl,
Rock of Egypt,
which is taking the music. Oh, wow, no, it's taking the musical. It's taking the discography of Belle and Sebastian, true. But I feel like a lot of Belle and Sebastian songs would make great musical numbers.
That's how I feel also about like folk music.
Yeah,
like for example. There's some OPM songs that I think would make... I actually have a playlist on my laptop of like, on my Spotify, I mean, that's like OPM songs that I think would make a good like musical, cohesive musical. Yeah. So it's like Ben and Ben, Pinkman, like that kind of stuff. Like I think that would make a good jukebox musical. But also like I've always wanted to see like a Mumford musical, or like, because especially Mumford. And also Laura Marling, now that I'm like listening to her more. Both of them are very, like, they're so image heavy with their like musicals, or like sometimes it's also very dialogue heavy in a way that like you wouldn't expect, I think, from folk music or their genre. So like I like even Laura Marling does this thing when she performs live. She has this set of songs called she puts together in a medley called Sweet, and it's the first 4 songs of her from her album I Was an Eagle. And I think that in itself is a scene from a musical. Like every time she plays it live, it's insane.
The one
could have been one whole thing. She also made a short film out of that. Like the music video was 4 songs. It's a 13-minute video. Anyway, so that's one. The
one that always surprises me that they haven't made a musical yet, because the guy behind them is so theatrical in his own right. No one's made a My Chemical Romance musical yet.
That's true.
Why haven't they? Like, That feels
That's
like
so true.
if you can
because
make
there's a Green Day musical.
like
There's
it's
two
right
Beatles
there.
musicals.
Welcome to the Black Parade is literally one
in
story.
itself,
It's a consistent
that's-
story.
yeah,
Like how
exactly.
have you
Also-
missed it?
Also, what do you call that? What's their other super famous single from that era? The I Don't Love You.
yeah,
That music video in itself could be an entire set.
yeah,
That's
amazing that
insane.
they
You're
missed
super
that.
correct.
Amazing that they missed that.
Or if they did like an Umbrella Academy musical.
Sure.
Which-
Well,
I'm
yeah,
just
that's
kidding. I haven't
yeah.
seen Umbrella Academy, so I can't say.
Well,
this was probably
yeah,
a stupid
I
suggestion,
don't know. I'm a bit so I'm half and half with the series now,
Oh,
but
are
I
you?
love the comics in high school.
Mhm.
Next question: what are your favorite comfort reads from your childhood or teenage years?
I have.
Ooh,
I have
good
answers to
question.
this.
What
And
are
my
your
answers
answers?
are
I'm
annoying.
actually gonna think about this because I did not write down my answers
Okay.
for this.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, "No, I'm gonna embarrass myself."
Go.
Okay, so my comfort one from childhood definitely is Little Women, because that was the first like full novel I read by myself.
Yeah.
And I really remember the moment I was like, "Oh my god, I read like a book." like
Aw.
I think I had borrowed it from the library and it was hardbound
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that's what made me feel very adult about it. So Little Women, and I remembered it very fondly. And then the anime came out and I was like, "Oh my god, exactly." And then the movie came out last year and I cried. But in my teenage years, you know what I used to read a lot
What?
now? And recently the movie adaptation of this came up on one of our favorite one of our favorite movie podcasts, you know. Blank Check. David had brought up what do you call this? Oh my god. The Time Traveler's Wife.
Right.
I don't know
okay.
who allowed me to read that when I was 14,
Mhm.
but I did. And I remember being so like I was like, "Oh, what a concept." And then I remember freaking out because when I was starting to get into Les Mis. Oh, I guess my answer would also be Les Mis because I did read Les Mis at first when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
But like when I was starting to get into Les Mis actually, and I was reading and I was starting to get into fic, somebody had made Time Traveler's Wife AU of Les Mis, modern AU, and then it was Of My Ship, which is Enjolras and Grantaire, and then Grantaire was the Time Traveler, and it was amazing. It was actually a really good AU. It was one of the first fics I ever read, and it was really good. I think I had one more, but I can't remember. Probably Macbeth. I'm gonna have to say.
Okay.
The first time I read Macbeth not Macbeth, sorry. I read Macbeth in college. I meant Taming of the Shrew.
Okay.
That was the first like Shakespeare play that I really understood.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay."
I would say for me,
I
my
understand
answer
now.
to this question, I mentioned some before. Neil Gaiman is definitely somebody who stayed with me from childhood, teenage years onward. I remember reading him specifically at the end of my high school years. So the first book that I'd gotten of his was Fragile Things. So the stories that I mentioned earlier, Study in Emerald, October in the Chair, those were the sort of stories na especially Study in Emerald, it was sort of me going like, "Oh, you can do that with stories?" So that always surprised me.
Oh, right. That feeling is always great,
yeah,
right?
that's great. So I think
Like when you read something and you're like, "Whoa."
Even now, I would say over the pandemic, I definitely reread some stories from Fragile Things and kind of remembered like, October in the Chair is a very warm story, even though I would say it's not as cohesive as like a lot of the stories I'd like now. There's definitely a lot of mood that comes out of it that I admire so much.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Who's the celeb you wish would listen to your podcast? Now, Mandy, I named a whole
I hate this
list
question.
of celebs who I think you would like to...
No.
I named them
You're
recently
funny
on
enough.
my Twitter.
Okay, you're gonna...
A whole list of celebs who I think you would answer for this question.
No.
Would you like to
wish-
name them, or would
No,
I
I would
have to
not
be the one to
name
name them?
anyone.
Because I remember
I
them
would not
from the
name
top
them.
of my head.
My genuine answer to this is that I hope no one I ever stand in my life listens to anything I do.
So like not
Because
like Chris Evans or
never
not
Chris
Sebastian
Evans.
Stan or
No.
Michael Sheen
I've never
or Armand
even
Hammer Jr.
heard of these people.
or Timothy Chalamet.
I would really, I don't know.
Or
These
Paul
are just
Mescal, who
like sounds
was
you're
in Normal
making to me
People.
now. I've never heard any of these.
Or Julianne
words.
Moore.
Julia, okay.
No,
No,
none
they
of those
don't think
guys.
I'm an
None of
idiot.
those guys.
None of those.
None of those
None of
guys?
those. I
Okay.
have no idea who those people are.
Alright, well, okay. We'll see.
No, that's my serious answer. My serious answer is that I hope they would never do that. Because when, okay, can I just say, like,
Yeah.
you know that episode of Blank Check when they had, like, Chris Weitz on?
Yeah.
That was really surreal even as a listener.
Right, Chris
Like, I
White's the
was like-
screenwriter of Rogue One, and a couple of things too. Like he also did what else? Did
Yeah,
he do?
he made
About a
American
Boy?
Pie.
Oh, American Pie.
That was his debut.
Yeah.
And also the movie Ants. If you remember the movie Ants,
Oh,
he wrote
yeah.
that script. And he is a big fan of one of our favorite podcasts, which is called Blank Check, and it's a movie about filmographies.
Yeah.
And like listening to that was really surreal because it was like, this dude's legit. I mean, like, not to say David and Griffin aren't legit, but you know, like, it's crazy, right? And so that would freak me out, I think, a bit.
Well, okay. I mean, my personal answer for this, I'll show my hubris. I'll go ahead and answer my crushes. Like, I mean, I'd like love to, I don't know, just like meet Margaret Qualley one day for her to say, "Hey, listen, I love your podcast." Like, wow, that's amazing. I would love that.
Into, like, the Daisy bit. But
Or
yeah.
like, yeah, Daisy,
Okay, honestly,
Daisy
you know what?
Ridley,
Yeah,
Zoe
Daisy Ridley.
Dutch.
Okay, to be fair, the thing about also, I don't know about your crushes, but my crushes, like Chris Evans and Sebastian Stan, they both read a lot. So
Yeah,
I don't
so-
know if they listen to podcasts. So especially Chris.
I'm
'cause,
trying to think of like
he's-
who's a
whatever.
crush of mine who like famously
like,
reads
reads
a
a
lot. At least, or like they're public about it.
Well,
I
all
can't.
Chris Evans does is post about freaking Siddhartha.
Well, yeah.
But I really hope that
But
they never find
any-
this, because I'll die.
But if any of my crushes are out there listening to this right now,
All right. Yeah.
and-
Okay. That's-
One, two, three.
What's happening?
Okay,
Are you
next
singing?
next question. How do you bookmark?
Closing time?
No. How do you
Oh, okay.
bookmark your books? I love this question. How do you bookmark your books?
I do love this question. Yeah, when I saw this, I was
Um,
like, "Ooh, this is a good one."
Do you have a special way of bookmarking your books? I really
actually
just
have-
use.
I know
bookmarks.
your answer actually, and I
Oh, okay,
think
go.
I got this habit from you
Oh, did you? Okay, go ahead.
because I think we do the same thing, where it's like whatever's around.
Right. Okay. I actually
Not really.
completely
That sounds
forgot
really
this.
bad. That's a bad
No.
description.
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
totally get what you mean. It's so funny because I had completely forgotten this for a lack of things to have around me because I've been staying home all the time.
because
So
of the home.
yeah. To explain a little
But
more.
when we were in college,
Yeah, like so my habit for bookmarking my books was that because I carry books around me literally everywhere I go or used
very
to go.
literally everywhere.
So
It's very
and I would like sneak in bits of reading wherever I could when I was in the bank or when I was in the line or when I was on the train or something. So like I would always find time to read. And what I wouldn't always have is a bookmark. So whenever I needed to stop, I needed to obviously, mark the book. And I didn't want to fold or perforate the book in any way. And so the thing that I would always do is find something around me, like a receipt, or most often it's like movie tickets that I would then use as the bookmark. And this
Yep.
this kind of like a funny story of how that paid off was that when I was teaching junior college in about 2016, I had a class where I wanted to share some of my favorite novels with my students, and so I kind of brought my book, like a mini book collection, to class. I brought it in a bag, and I just started passing books around. And I'd completely forgotten that I left all these receipts and movie tickets inside the books. So as my students were reading or like looking through the books and like looking at the blurbs and looking at the side jackets, all these like receipts from the past 5 years would start spilling out. And I realized like, oh, this is my life. Like my life is kind of just spilling out of these
like
books.
literally, yeah.
But like especially like movie tickets, like you would sort of see the movies that I'd gone to see over the last 5 years from that time on, were kind of just like hidden there. And it was sort of like, oh, okay, this is a nice culmination, somewhat poetic of this experience that I'm now sharing with these people who I
Yeah.
hope to turn into lifelong readers. But
Yeah.
obviously, as I was saying earlier, now I don't do this as much anymore. Now I just kind of just like look for bookmarks.
Yeah, was that gonna be your answer?
Well, yeah. Specifically, I was gonna say that when I was ordering from Book Depository, which sadly because of the pandemic hasn't been delivering to the Philippines lately, they do send like free bookmarks. With
That's
the
right,
book.
they do.
So I would like use a lot of their
I think
bookmarks.
I have some still.
Prayer cards, I think,
But,
is another good bookmark. I think.
Yeah, prayer cards. Did you say prayer cards?
Yeah, like prayer cards.
Yeah,
you know.
very true. That's very Tito of you.
Yeah,
My
sorry.
Lola did that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I actually do the same thing as you now.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't have a lot of bookmarks. I think even the ones that I got from Book Depository, I don't know where they are. So I did take up that habit from you, and a lot of my bookmarks are actually like calling cards or receipts.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's the answer to that question. Next question.
The next question is stupid.
Ebook or e-girls?
Which, funny enough, it's like literally, I totally forgot about this until recently because my cousin Andrea had brought it up. But we were talking about e-girls in at work for something, and I had totally forgot that in my family, because our last name starts with an E. And like our joke used to be that if you were in our family, obviously you'd be an e-girl or an e-boy.
Okay.
And we were doing that years before that this was like a thing, you know. And
right.
So she reminded me. She was like, "Oh, is she talking or like this is work meeting about us?" And I was like, "I don't know." Anyway.
Well, if that's the
thing.
definition of e-girls.
Oh yeah, then 100% I'm picking e-girls.
Pick e-girls as well. Considering
thank you.
Knowing your company is always a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. My guy.
But the next question is also, that last question was half joking. I meant hard copy or ebooks. Good question, because
Very good
I
question.
have a somewhat definite answer for this, except that that's also changed recently due to the pandemic.
Me too.
Is it hard copy?
Oh, siblings.
Is it that you would prefer?
Yeah, it was hard copy.
Yeah.
Definitely hard copy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the pandemic has really sort of shifted things in terms of like how you get your hands on material. So ebooks have been really more helpful in the past few months. I mean, even with this podcast, we've been reading primarily through ebooks. To make it
except
easier.
for Cersei.
Yeah.
Well, I have it on the ebook,
copy,
but I also have the physically.
Yeah,
copy.
but I didn't have the physical copy. So I had to resort to
did you reread Normal People physically?
Yes, I no, even then, Normal People, I was like, no, I want to kind of put notes on this. So I ended up reading it entirely on books. On iBooks, rather. Ebooks, I guess they're functional, but I will always be a sucker for the feeling of turning pages and seeing how far you are into the book. And
holding it, yeah.
There's, I think, a specific pleasure.
Which is my concern when we were starting this.
Yeah, there's a specific pleasure I get that I feel is undefined, which is the pleasure of, after you've started the book and that feeling of like, oh, I have so many pages to go. And then like just going through it and then realizing I'm now in the middle. There's like there's some kind of pleasure that I associate with that.
Or not even if you're more than past the middle. Yeah. I think that's where we're like, and then it's only been like a couple hours. Yeah, that's also very satisfying.
I really savor
of you
the
being
last
like, oh
pages.
shit, I'm almost done.
I really savor those last pages.
Okay,
next question. If you were to invite anyone to your podcast, who would it be? I have like an easy answer for this, except that I would have to know that they're also like heavy.
Quality?
No. I mean, sure, but no, but like okay. No, like easily the like anyone from any of the podcasts that we listen to already. Or like anyone from Team Polygon. Would be fun to have on the podcast, but I don't know. I don't know who among them are as. I think the one person who I feel probably the other person who I
Brian. Oh, Jenna, I think. Seems like somebody who would read.
Brian maybe, but I mean like he spent the last year reading Halo novels, so I don't know if he would make any more time for that. Sorry, Brian, if you're listening to this podcast. One person I think would fit in is Russ Freshtick, because I remember listening to him on another podcast where he mentioned like his love for like 100 Years of Solitude and magic realism. So I was wow. He'd be a fun guy to talk to. I like that guy. I like that guy. So like anyone from like the podcast we listen to or Team Polygon, if they're like as heavy readers as we are, And if you're
True.
listening to this, we'd love to, I don't know, just like talk and, like hang out.
Yeah, it'll be really
sometime.
awesome.
So cool.
Griffin and David.
Yeah.
Ben.
Great, Ben. Yeah.
If you're out
You
there.
guys. Okay.
Well, sorry, just real quick, but like during the Zemeckis episodes of Blank Check, what's his name? Griffin did read like both.
The Forrest Gump.
What do you call this? Forrest Gump books, which shocked me. I was like, "Oh, you read
Yeah,
this
the
for
novels
this?"
that they were based on, or one
Yeah.
novel that was based on, and the novel that came after the movie.
And
So
the one
that was
after,
pretty
yeah, the sequel.
interesting.
That-
And
I was
actually,
wow.
David has mentioned reading David Mitchell. So.
Oh yes,
there's
that's
that.
right. And also he during the what do you call this? I re-listened to the what is that? Help.
Go on.
Gaze in the cowboy gaze.
Brokeback Mountain.
Yes, Brokeback Mountain. The Brokeback Mountain episode, and I did not know that was based on a short story until David
Yeah, man.
said so, because he had studied it in college apparently and
yeah.
super loved it. So that was really interesting.
And
That would also be another short story that would be a nice musical.
and
I think.
also
That
of
would be a
course, like
very emotional
speaking
musical.
of like college, obviously, I'd love to invite more people that we knew in college, like
Oh,
we
that's
met in
true.
college
Yeah.
to be in this podcast.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
I don't know. I'm not saying anything yet about
But
it,
then
but
I don't know
could be
how
changing.
feasible that is.
I don't know,
That
we'll
would be
see.
so crazy.
I'm over here,
If,
you're over there, in social
I'm also
distancing.
over, and our friends are
So
over there.
We'll really have to
ish.
see.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Huge question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What is? What if I just do the question like that, like just one word at a time? What
is
the color
color
of
of?
pie?
Oh.
Now I'm taking this
I can't
question
tell if
very
this is a trick
loosely.
question.
I'm taking this question
Yeah,
very
me too,
loosely.
because
So now, okay, pie is not. Now, if you remember, pie is not the tiger from Life of
No.
Pi. It's the guy.
not at all.
Which, so, like, answering the question of what his
that
color
is
is
really-
a little concerning, so I won't answer that question that way. But American Pie is brown, crusty brown, and
This is your answer?
and like Pie, the movie by Darren Aronofsky, was in black and white. So, those are my answers. What about you, Amanda? What is
These
the
are
color?
really good answers.
What is the color of pie?
No, I'm just gonna side with you on this one.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I guess that's it. We've basically done it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. So
Oh, that's another person I'd love to have on the podcast.
who?
Eric from Pretty Much It.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
like
be game
to
for
see
that.
him react to books for once.
Yes. We'll just do like live commentaries of books with him.
Of us reading.
Books with him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, okay. I think
Anyway.
we've run out of questions to ask both you, the listeners, and ourselves, the not listeners of this podcast. But we're
Right.
again so grateful for all the questions, all the answers that we got. I feel like this is now a good time to come and bring our reading break to a close. Because it's also getting late for us, and we're recording this episode once again at night. And yeah, I mean, we basically covered all the ground, and I mean, I'm looking forward to our miniseries on Zadie Smith.
It's gonna be a wild one.
Okay, well, I think
Okay, so
yeah. So if you want to stay tuned for our Zadie Smith episode, our first episode is on White Teeth, which will come out in a week's time. So a week from today. Stay tuned to our social media accounts at the Rec Room Pod on Instagram and Twitter. That's Rec spelled REQ.
okay.
All right, and until next time.
I'm
Kamsahamnida.
just gonna fade out. What?
Thanks for listening to The Rec Room. This episode was edited by me. Our artwork is by Mandy. Our theme song is 64 Sundays by Twin Musicom, which is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution License. Check out more of their music at www.twinmusicom.org. For more updates on The Rec Room, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Rec Room Pod. Rec spelled R-E-Q.